Hi there, happy Monday. So this week's topic is going to be about a self-care topic that we do all the time. So it's self-regulation. So in short, what is self-regulation? So it is our ability to manage our emotions, our thoughts, and our behaviors in response to internal cues as well as external demands. So it includes emotional control. It also includes impulse management, attention focusing, and then also goal directed behavior. So basically, we have a goal for our behavior, each of us, and we want to project a certain way. It doesn't always happen that way, but we normally have a goal. So, example, let's say you're in a work meeting and the agenda of the meeting, you already knew, you're like, okay, this is going to be a frustrating meeting. So you get in the meeting and the talking points, the topic of the talking points, it's you're getting frustrated. So it's your time to respond, but you take a pause and you take a deep breath and you respond professionally, right? So you have regulated your behavior in that moment to make sure that whatever you project or give out is cool. That is self composure. So I'm going to discuss the difference between self regulation and self composure in just a moment. So, for the purpose of this video, I'll just discuss the three significant principles to me, in my opinion, for self regulation. There are several, but I think first and foremost, it is being self aware, right? You have to first recognize what is your trigger, identify what is having me feel this way, right? And then also how you react under stress, as well as being conscious of your internal state, right? So being self aware, that whole recognition. And then it's doing self monitoring. That's number two. Self monitoring is you actually observing and tracking your own behavior in that moment, right? And you are deciding like which emotional responses may be appropriate, right? So you're monitoring all of this, right? Like your own mental database, so to speak. So when you're checking in with yourself, you are noticing patterns and you are evaluating yourself to see if those actions will align with what you want to project, right? And then lastly, it's the whole self-control piece. It's that managing all of that to say, hey, you know what? I need to find a way to keep this in check, and make intentional choices so I can be proud of the outcome. All right. So those 3 points are the 3 principles that are significant with self-regulation. Not too long ago, like shortly after I started the channel, I did a video on self-composure. So some of you that have been here for a little bit, you're probably thinking like when you saw the title, like, isn't self-regulation and self-composure the same thing? No, they're a little bit different. They work together. They even overlap, but they're a little different. So self-regulation is our internal process, right? To help control our emotions as well as our impulses. But self-composure is the external result of of how calm and collected we are and how that displays to others, right? So it's that external result. So when you think of self-regulation, think of internal process. And then when you think of self-composure, that's the external result after you have regulated yourself, right? So I like to think of them both as like dynamic and static. So dynamic, of course, meaning it's always changing. And that's what self-regulation is. We're always self-regulating all the time. So it's an active, ongoing process, because we're constantly trying to adjust, our emotions, our behavior, our cognitive responses based on what's happening around us and within us, right? So it's like a good analogy. It's like sort of like your mind and your body being in tune. So here's an example. So let's say your heart is racing, right? You're like, oh my God, my heart is racing. Okay, I need to calm down. Okay, you do some breath work. You take some deep breaths and you notice you start to calm down. That is regulating your behavior. All right. So that's dynamic. So like I said, you're thinking of this. Sometimes, you wake up sometimes in a bad mood and you're like, okay, I didn't have a great day yesterday. I hope today is better. You have to, like I said, from the time you get up, you're regulating your emotions. How's this day going to be? How am I going to, how am I hoping this day ends up? So you're always regulating your emotions. Now, self-composure is static, right? It's that stillness. It stays the same pretty much. So think of self-composure as like a picture, right? Let's say someone took a picture of you. That picture is going to stay the same. It's going to look like that if you look at it 10 years from now, if you look at it 10 minutes from now, that picture is going to look the same. So it's basically a snapshot or a picture of your calm in that moment of pressure. So an analogy for that, think of like you're holding a yoga pose, right? You're completely still in that pose, but it's taking a lot of control to hold that posture, right? That's the composure piece. So let's say you're in a heated conversation, or an argument, but your delivery, you're keeping it together, when you give that, that external feedback, how others are appearing. It's like, I'm like, man, they're really holding it together. They're really keeping it cool. So how they work together is this. So think of self-regulation as your engine, right? So I'll put it like a car analogy. So think of self-regulation as your engine, but think of self-composure as a display. So let's say, for example, you're driving your car and you notice the display is running hot. You're like, man, my car is overheating, right? So that's, you've noticed like, okay, something is going on, with the engine, and it's this. Or let's say you're revving up the engine, you're making it, decelerate or accelerate, whatever the case may be. So think of self-regulation as your engine, and think of self-composure as a display of what's going on with that engine. So, so basically self-regulation is dynamic. It's ever changing all the time. It's constantly at work behind the scenes. And then self-composure is static. It's that composed stillness, right, that others can observe in that moment. So my question for you is, normally on a day-to-day basis, and I know, situations are different, but how do you normally regulate your emotions? Like, do you frequently take deep breaths? Do you spend times, alone? Do you have to get away altogether, just not around people? Do you have to write? Do you have to, look at animals, kittens or puppies, or, what do you do to normally self-regulate? So that's my question for this topic on self-regulation. So otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday and a great rest of your week. Take care and be well.